Executive Officer of Holman & Company on December 17th of 2012. He leads the overall business direction and management of Holman & Company, including the Indianapolis Motor Speedway and the IndyCar Series. Mark transformed the ATP, the governing body of men's international professional tennis, from a startup league to an international leader. He led the Pan Am Games in 1987 and, of course, the 2012 Super Bowl here in Indianapolis. Early in his career, he was Executive Director of Corporate Relations with Eli Lilly and Company, and most recently led the Indiana Central Corporate Partnership, a group working to develop economic growth in the region. He's a graduate of Wabash College. He and his wife Helen have 4 children and reside here in the Indianapolis area. So please give a big Oldtimers welcome to the new boss, Mark Miles.
So he's the MC and the technical guy.
They asked Jenkins, what did you thought of Mark Miles?
Thank you for that kind
He called me
introduction.
Dave the other day. So.
I told Bob I'm new in the job, but it doesn't mean that I haven't discovered Main Street, that I'm not going to Charlie Brown's and Boston's every day, and every time you go in, there he is, greeting me at 6 o'clock in the morning. So I think about him often, even when it's not May. This is a beautiful sight to see everybody here, the 500 Oldtimers, my first chance to be among you. And I have the same feeling I have had every day since May started this time around. A real sense of honor and thrill, really. Because I'm an Indianapolis kid, well, guy, was a kid growing up here, and the Speedway means as much to me as it does to all of you, and always has. And I can't express how I feel, how privileged I feel to have had the chance to become part of this big family. Speaking of family, I should first welcome you and thank you on behalf of the Holman George family and the entire organization. The organization has expanded, so our board of directors is not just the family folks that you know very well, but some other Indianapolis business people that are serving all of us as my boss with distinction, one of whom is over there munching on his biscuits, but I'm going to embarrass him anyway. Andre Lacey is here, and he is the lead director of our board of directors, and LDI, his company, is the sponsor of this evening, or this organization. So Andre, thank you very much. He and the others who have joined the board are giving us great support and direction, and it's a privilege to work with them as well. I could stand up here and speak till dark, but I've been told that some of us need to get home before dark. About the remarkable experiences this kind of kid in a candy store has gone through, really being exposed to this thing from the inside for the first time. It's just a remarkable set of experiences. But I thought I might just tell one story, which leads me to a comment about what's going to happen here over the next year, that I think you all will appreciate, at least in some respects. The family and we thought a long time about whether we should deviate from a terrific past policy that this was a completely independent company and we wouldn't seek help from the government. It is not our inclination to want to do that. But over time, this huge, venerable place gets very expensive to keep up and to keep competitive with other great venues around the country. So we made the decision to go to the General Assembly and ask for some help. You probably know the story. The state's going to put in some money and we're going to put in money, and it's going to produce a lot of money. About $90 million would be the proceeds from selling bonds, all for the investment in improvements to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Much needed stuff, things we can do. The story I wanted to tell you was, you know, if you're going to do that, then you're going to find yourself in the halls of the State House. And the first big occasion when that happened was our testifying in front of the Senate Finance Committee and Senator Luke Henley's committee. And so Jeff Belskis and I went in and we each had like 5 minutes to kind of give our presentation about what the IMS and the whole motor sport cluster means to the economy of the state, which is so important. and what we could do if we had a little help in accessing the capital markets. And we finished after about 10 minutes, and now it's time for the august senators to ask us questions. And this is the time where you start to get a little nervous, because you never know, who's going to ask what, and whether they're friend or foe. So the senator, the chairman, asked for his committee members to ask any questions. And the first senator raised his hand, and I'm a little nervous, and he says, "My county sold them the bricks." And then he smiled, and it became clear that what he was telling was the story of how one central Indiana county sold the bricks to pave the brickyard, and how important to that part of the state and its economy the Indianapolis Motor Speedway is to them. And I was really moved. And then the next senator, Senator Pat Miller, raised her hand, and she said, "My daddy took me to my first 500-mile race 47 years ago, and I've never missed one." And I'm thinking, this is a friend, this is not too aggressive. Well, 8 straight senators basically asked to be recognized and said the most marvelous things about the importance and their love for the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. They subsequently put us through the ringer to make sure that the legislation looked out for the taxpayers in the best possible way, which was appropriate. But I left that hearing, as I do every day in this job now, understanding how much the place means to all of us, to the people of Indianapolis and Indiana. And in the tennis job for 15 years, I was traveling outside the country more than half the time. And you hear this all the time, but I've been in over 100 countries, and I can tell you that it's true. I can't remember being in a place where I didn't say I was from Indianapolis, and the first thing out of my mouth is 500. The recognition that this place has brought to, and the credit that it's brought to our city and state as part of our identity is just impossible to exaggerate. So we got this money coming. We'll have it before the end of the year. We're going to be the best possible stewards of these investments. We're going to make sure they produce a return for the taxpayers, and we're going to make sure that it makes the Indianapolis Motor Speedway competitive as the kind of leader facility that it deserves to be for the next many, many years. There's so much else going on. How about Ed Carpenter on the pole? I just think that's something. I'm sure I'm supposed to be completely unbiased, and so I am. But how about Ed Carpenter on the pole? He finished that day, and you can imagine he's the sweetest human being. I beat him over to Banker's Life to see that last Pacer game, and Ed showed up at halftime and took a seat that was kind of conspicuous, and the cameras all came over, and the announcer called him out and told everybody if they didn't know what he'd done that day, and the whole place erupted. It was just, again, gratifying to see how much people care about this place and have paid close attention and how appreciated he is as a representative of the family of this great place. So anyway, I could go on forever. I want to get you home before dark, but I wanted to tell you, as just one person new to the whole thing, how truly amazing it is, and how much we appreciate all the experience and love in this room for the place, and we just can't thank you enough for all that you've done all these years and all that I know you'll do to help us as we move forward. Have a great race, and thanks so much for your attention.